Can you feel that? The chill as it spreads through your body. A shiver runs up your spine as the brisk wind bites. This is no time to freeze. You stand face to face with veterans, masters of this world, champions in these conditions. Focus on your training. Use the pressure as it cracks the world around you. As the ground melts beneath you, slow your breathing. Focus your mind. The Arctic awaits.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Greenland and Extreme E, the fully electric racing series with a purpose: to raise awareness of climate change and the dramatic effect it's having on the planet. I'm Jenny Gow, alongside me in the commentary box is Andrew Coley.
Thanks, Jenny. Extreme E has already attracted some huge names, including seven-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton, alongside star drivers like Sebastian Loeb, Jutta Kleinsmith, Carlos Sainz and Molly Taylor. The driver lineup is split 50-50 between men and women. It's a field full of champions. The Arctic X Prix is the third event of the season. It's the first motorsport event ever held in Greenland. We're racing at the base of the vast ice sheet, which is melting at an alarming rate.
OK then, if you are new to Extreme E or you fancy a quick refresher course, then here is what it's all about. This is Extreme E.
The consequences of climate change are affecting millions of people across the planet.
Cities worldwide are going to become uninhabitable.
Extreme E is an all-electric off-road racing series with a purpose: raising awareness of the devastating effect climate change is having on our planet. In fully electric off-road SUVs. Racing in some of the most remote and damaged areas on Earth.
So really seeing what the issues are, but then importantly what we can do to help be part of the solution, making this world better for the future as well.
To tackle these demanding locations requires one of the most robust racing cars ever built, the Odyssey 21.
The car feels insane.
It's amazing how much torque you have to have immediate power when you touch the throttle pedal. It's proper exciting to drive.
With some of the biggest names in motorsport behind the wheel and a 50-50 split male and female driver lineup, teams will go wheel to wheel on the most extreme terrains, in the most extreme temperatures, driving the most extreme vehicle. Backed by a team of industry-leading scientists to guarantee we not only race without a trace, but we leave a lasting legacy at every location.
Wouldn't it be great to be a part of something that really does make a difference?
This is fierce and exciting racing with the future of our planet at its heart. This is the greatest adventure of our time. This is Extreme E.
The Extreme E adventure began in the breathtaking landscape of Al Ula in Saudi Arabia to highlight the issue of desertification. Nico Rosberg's RXR team took the Desert X Prix win, and they won again at the next event in West Africa on Senegal's Cap Vert Peninsula, an area suffering the effects of plastic pollution and under threat from sea level rise as a result of global warming from greenhouse gases.
Now, after two hot and sandy events, we've moved north to western Greenland, racing near the retreating Russell Glacier to highlight the disappearance of Arctic ice in the region. Then we have two new events on their way, so replacing the South American rounds cancelled due to the pandemic. We have round 4, the Island X Prix is in Sardinia, one of the many parts of Europe suffering from rising temperatures and catastrophic wildfires.
And the season ends in a venue still to be confirmed at the end of December. We will have news for you on that soon. Right, let's get back to the Arctic X Prix. We're here in Kalaallit in Greenland. If you're new to the sport, then I think maybe you need a little refresher on how an Extreme E event works. Here you go.
The the world's finest drivers have joined brand new teams to compete in the Extreme E Championship. Each team will consist of one female and one male driver. The drivers will compete in X Prix across the globe, each highlighting a specific environmental issue. An Extreme E race consists of 2 laps. The male and female driver must complete 1 lap each. Each team has 2 hyperdrive power boosts they can activate on lap 1 and lap 2 of the race. Expect strategy and tactics. Over the course of an X Prix, the quickest team that goes through the super sector collects a further 5 team championship points. Day 1 is qualifying and consists of 2 qualifying rounds. In each round, every team does 2 laps against the clock, with both drivers driving a lap each. In both rounds, there are qualifying points up for grabs, and this determines how they progress to Day 2, semi-finals and crazy race. There are also championship points to be won, with the top team in qualifying bagging 12 vital championship points, down to the last place qualifying team who walk away with just 4 championship points. Day 2 starts with the semi-finals, with the top 2 teams from each semi progressing to the final. The bottom 3 teams from Day 1's qualifying go head-to-head in the crazy race, the winner taking the last remaining place in the final. Grid play allows fans to vote for their favourite teams and drivers. The team that collects the most votes gets first grid position pick for the final, with the second and third teams choosing, but there is a twist. The teams who do not reach the final can still have an impact, as they can donate their votes to any team that reaches the final and influence who eventually wins the all-important grid play. The fastest 2 teams from semi-final 1 and 2 and the winner of the crazy race will battle it out in the 5-car final. The team that crosses the line first wins the X Prix and claims 25 championship points, with the following teams collecting further championship points in descending order. All 5 X Prix count towards the team's championship, and in the drivers' championship, competitors can drop their worst X Prix result of the season. Who has what it takes to lift the trophy?
Well, this was the drivers getting off the Caterpillar tracked bus this morning, but the Extreme E adventure began 4 years ago in the planning. And the debut season, of course, this year, 2021. We've had some real drama, some epic battles. It started with a bang back in April.
The opening round of the Extreme E Championship began in the lunar landscapes of Al Ula, deep in the heart of Saudi Arabia, where the deserts are expanding as a direct result of climate change.
Certification is the process of degrading the land as it dries out, and in the future we see the deserts expanding.
Extreme E's legacy project is charged to leave a lasting difference in every race location. With the beaches a key spot for the sea turtle population, the teams and drivers set out to clean and maintain this crucial habitat. The next day and the first wheel-to-wheel racing action saw chaos in the dunes.
She's got it backed off. He's in the dust now, looking for a way through. No lifting! Oh, he hits her!
Having survived the brutal duels in the desert, 3 teams, Andretti United, Rosberg X Racing and X44 had made it to the final.
Green light on the outside, lots and lots of wheel spin. Who's in front? It's Johan. Johan has managed to get in front again as he kicks the car really high.
He handed over to Molly Taylor, who held her nerve until the finish. This is going to be Molly Taylor winning the first ever Extreme E X Prix. RXR took the opening victory in the very first Extreme E race, with Andretti United sitting closely second. Round 2 and the Ocean X Prix awaits on the African shores of Senegal. Racing on the beaches to highlight plastic pollution and the damage being done to our ocean, and show how sea level rise will affect humanity globally. Extreme E's legacy project commits to plant 1 million mangrove trees along the Senegalese coast, helping to capture and store carbon in the soil and protect the coastlines against storms.
Come here, we plant the mangroves, and understanding the importance of the mangroves, I have to say, it feels really good to be part of this.
As the tide withdrew, the drivers prepared to tackle the tight, technical and unforgiving course. With the racing underway, it was American Kyle LeDuc who found early form.
LeDuc commits over the bump, now he goes for Sands as well. Leduc's going to shut the door. He does it. P3 to P1. Brilliant.
The final of the Ocean X Prix saw championship leaders Rosberg X Racing and X44 line up alongside Veloce Racing and Jenson Button's team JBXE. Looking for the signal, and they're green. Off they go. It wasn't long off the start that the unrelenting beach course and door-to-door racing cut the grid in half.
I come over, guys. Sorry.
And we've got a problem as well for JBXE.
With only Veloce and RXR left in the final, they faced off in a one-lap showdown to decide the winner, with W Series champion Jamie Chadwick facing off against Johan Kristoffersen. And they are off! With Kristoffersen muscling his way through on the beach straight, he held on to bring home the Ocean X Prix crown.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
With back-to-back race wins, Rosberg X Racing lead the championship, followed closely in second by Team X44, with JBXE, Andretti United and Excite Energy completing the top 5.
Well, great to see some of that action, but the racing, of course, is only part of the story in Extreme E. A hand-picked team of scientists travels to each event with Extreme E's own ship, the Santa Elena, to monitor local conditions and help raise awareness in the battle against climate change.
Extreme E is dedicated to leaving behind a positive legacy in our race venues, and here in Kangalusaq there are a number of initiatives we're assisting with. From installing solar panels in the local school to give them a more sustainable future, to supplying and training the local emergency response team. But the biggest issue to tackle is the melting of the ice, and our in-house experts Peter Wadhams and Carlos Duarte are leading experiments that will help gather data to assist in the fight against climate change.
As you can see from the scene behind us, a lot of the ice on the Greenland ice cap is very dark. It's called black ice. And it's dark because it's dirty, and what you've got is a long history of dirt and soot from fires gets blown across to Greenland and deposited on the ice sheet. If the ice melts, it leaves the dirt behind, so the dirt accumulates on the surface, gets blacker and blacker. And the blacker it gets, the more radiation it absorbs, and that means the faster it melts. So what we want to find out is how much of the sediment is soot from wildfires. Is that more than last year or more than in the past? Is it a serious addition to the melt rate of the ice sheet?
The Extreme E drivers have joined the Science Committee on the ice cap to gather crucial samples. These will be used to gain a better understanding of what impact the dramatic change in climate has had on the region.
But there's something special about the Kalaallit fjord, and it's the one that carves deepest into the inside, the heart of the island. And that means that the Kalaallit fjord discharges a large fraction of all of the melting that occurs in the ice sheet, and that comes along with a lot of mud and sediment. So we are now collecting this mud and looking at the power of this mud to release the salts and the chemistry that can shift the equilibrium of seawater to bind carbon dioxide.
We're definitely here to race, and that's what we've all come into this sport for. And racing here is going to be something completely new for me anyway, but I think the science element, it really feels like the complete picture. The fact that Carlos said that he wouldn't be able to do this research without Extreme E is really amazing. I feel really happy to be a part of it.
This vital research will allow Extreme E scientists to understand if minerals deposited by increased ice melt can be used to reduce the amount of carbon being released into the atmosphere. With the support of the St. Helena, Extreme E's floating laboratory, this research can provide crucial data to combat climate change.
Extreme E has joined forces with the Count Us In programme to inspire Extreme E fans to take practical steps to reduce their own carbon footprint. So which of our teams has been best at getting the message across? X44 look at the top of the table on 355 steps, Rosberg X Racing 352, and Jenson Button XE on 351. The Formula One drivers leading the way there and getting that message across.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yesterday we had 2 highly entertaining qualifying sessions to sort out who made it through to today's semi-finals. Let's have a look at what happened. Are you ready? Yeah, of course you are.
Time then for qualifying in Greenland. There's some of the local wildlife. Luckily, none of them on track. As you can see, the cars were absolutely flat out as always. RXR, Johan Kristoffersen in the car, stopped 3 times on the course. Absolute nightmare. Got the car reset and brought it back for his teammate Molly Taylor. We didn't think things could get much worse, but look at this, a bad bounce, the rear right digs in, Taylor rolls the car, gets going immediately, doesn't even come to a stop, manages to get the car to the finish, but not the start the championship leaders were looking for. Chip Ganassi Racing, they were super fast last time out in Senegal. Sarah Price had a brilliant start to her run, handed over to Kyle Leduc, and at this point Leduc having a huge moment, nearly rolled like Taylor did, but managed to hold on a fast time for the Americans. X44 were in the form which we've come to know them for in qualifying. Cristina Gutierrez and Sebastian Loeb absolutely smashing it on the timesheets, and it would be them that was at the top of the table at the end of Q1. On to Q2, and Apt Cupra had a brilliant run in Q1, thinking maybe they could threaten X44 for the top qualifier spot, but Ekstrom came home for the changeover with 2 punctures on the car. The rear left was changed, the rear right they could not get off the car, and it was a DNF. Different issue for Kyle Leduc, you ride on board with him here as the rear left suspension collapses. The Americans with a wheel hanging off the back of the wagon, unable to continue. Redemption time though for RXR. Molly Taylor had flown on the first lap, Johan Kristoffersen flew literally on the second lap, and they would win Q2. But it wasn't enough to deny X44 their 3rd top qualifier spot in a row. Gutierrez and Loeb have been fast and consistent and problem-free all day long. Another fantastic performance and another top qualifier spot. Here are the standings at the end of qualifying. Top of the table, X44 for the 3rd time in a row. Then it's Apt Cupra, RXR, Andretti United, Veloce Racing, Acciona Sites, Chip Ganassi Racing, JBXE, and Excite Racing.
So a great start for X44 in qualifying. They did such a good job. Now the course here in Greenland has been built in an open plain right on the edge of this retreating Russell Glacier. It's very high speed.
A very different challenge from the 2 desert-like venues we've been to before. Temperatures here much lower and a much different set of surfaces. Off the start line, fairly open. We've got a couple of tight corners where we can expect the cars to try to get in a line, but if they're not in a line by that hairpin just before the cliff face, you are definitely going to be following the cars in front through the next section. It gets very, very narrow, as we see here. One of the Apt Cupra drivers heading up over the top of the crest and down through that narrow section. It is literally 1 car wide. There's an off-camber corner in there which is really tricky, and it continues right down to the lake section. In the background you can see these dirt roads are going to cut up. It's very soft sand and gravel, a real mixture, very few places to pass. Once you get through that section, up towards the Russell Glacier, the ice sheet in the background of this hairpin at the very far end of the course, then things start to get interesting. The track is much wider and much more open. We can expect to see many variances of lines through here, and this is also where the super sector is. The fastest driver through the super sector will take 5 championship points home at the end of this weekend. There's a drop-off on the way into it, then it's flat out through some turns over the dried up riverbeds, and it ends with this section here, breaking down the X44 car this was towards a big crest, and that's where the super sector stops. So is anybody going to really risk it through there for those extra championship points? Might use the hyperdrive, or you could save it for the back straight. Flat out across a super low flat plane of gravel before coming up towards a new challenge right at the end of the course, the Rock Garden. These are big boulders like nothing we've seen so far. Do you risk it? Do you go flat out? Do you take it a little bit easier, as we see the X44 driver Sebastian Loeb doing here? We've seen people take both approaches. A brilliant track here at Kalaallit for round 3.
Now, we didn't want to make it too easy for any of our drivers, so overnight the sneaky track ferries came down and decided that they'd change it just to make it a little bit more challenging, and because we're going to be racing with 3 cars and 5 cars in the final, they wanted to really challenge them.
Yeah, the first few sectors were badly cut up, where we saw Molly Taylor have the roll, and also we saw Kyle Leduc and a couple of others had the rear end of the car kick up really high. So the decision was made, with multiple cars running down that section, it would be better to go from waypoint 2 straight up to waypoint 6, the hairpin up to the narrow section. Going to be really interesting to see how that plays out during the semi-finals and the final.
Yeah, we don't know how bumpy it's going to be. The drivers haven't had a go on it, so into the unknown, and that's how we like it here at Extreme E. Extreme E sees 9 all-star teams entering the inaugural season, packed with world champions from all over the motorsport world.
We've basically got champions in every motorsport discipline pretty much are all coming together and being part of Extreme E.
American racing royalty Andretti have teamed up with Britain's United Autosport and have 2019 World Rallycross champion Timmy Hansen driving alongside British rally star Katie Munnings. Chip Ganassi Racing are on the hunt for victory, with the All-American outfit having recruited 7-time Pro 4 off-road champion Carl LeDuc and the multidiscipline dirt racing expertise of Sarah Price.
We will do it with a purpose and leave the smallest footprint as we can, but our footprint will be on the top of that podium for sure.
At Cooper Racing have plenty of driving experience leading the line, as Jutta Kleinschmidt, the Paris-Dakar's only female winner, and former World Rallycross champion Matthias Ekstrom in the hot seat. Acciona Sainz, created by rally legend Carlos Sainz, sees the 2-times World Rally champion and 4-time Dakar Rally winner pairing up with Laia Sanz, an 11-time Dakar racer.
To have Carlos Sainz in the field as well, it's pretty surreal for me.
Driving for Excite Energy Racing is rally racer Christine Giampaoli Zonca and British rallycross driver Oliver Bennett. Veloce Racing, with Formula E champions and elite F1 experience behind the scenes, have 2-time Le Mans champ Stefan Sarrazin, and for this round he's partnered by Emma Gilmore, who comes with a wealth of rally experience. RXR, formed by 2016 Formula One world champion Nico Rosberg, has the dream team of 3-time World Rallycross champion Johan Kristoffersen and Molly Taylor, the youngest Australian rally champion to date. These guys are looking like the ones to beat, sat at the top of the standings.
Molly is Australian rally champion, so she's a phenomenal driver, and she's proven that as well on the Extreme E track.
Hot on the heels of RXR in the championship are X44, founded by 7-time F1 world champion Lewis Hamilton.
From a driver's perspective, I'm always looking for someone that's pushing the limits. Experience is key.
The F1 star has recruited rally royalty, 9-time world rally champion Sebastian Loeb and Cristina Gutierrez, the second female driver ever to win a Dakar stage. The pair definitely have the credentials to challenge for the title.
It's really amazing to see them both performing at such a high level.
Last to enter this almighty roster, JBXE, founded by yet another F1 world champion Jenson Button. Lining up in the driver's seat, younger brother of Timmy Hansen and World Rallycross hotshot Kevin Hansen. He's partnered up with Swedish off-road racer Michaela Arlen Kotelinski, and so far are sitting 3rd in the championship.
Fifteen seconds.
That is the 15-second count. Emma Gilmore is beating herself up about this. She's drawing all the adrenaline she can. All eyes to the start line. We're about to go racing. And it's a green light, so getting stuck in to this race. Let's see what happens. The first 3-car race around Kangalusek, a brand new start to this. You can see the X44 just edging in front. It is Cristina Gutierrez taking the lead, but staying with her, Emma Gilmore of Veloce looks like she's got a good run on this, and she's taken the lead. We're on board with the Sainz car. It is Carlos Sainz. He's in 3rd place, but he's found a better way past. And we've got a problem, I think, for Gutierrez. The X44 dropping back hugely. It's Veloce who have taken the lead.
Yeah, brilliant job there by Gilmore. First time we've seen the start, first time the drivers have even driven over this terrain in the cars. Not quite as bumpy as we thought it might be. Now we see hyperdrive from all 3 drivers. That's because this section's flat. Carlos Sainz moves past Emma Gilmore. Gilmore drops in right behind him. I think she might try a slipstream. Gonna try and pull out on the way down towards the hairpin. It's such a long run. Gilmore's late on the brakes now. Sainz, though, has got the inside line. Gilmore might try and cut back on the exit here. Can she get past before the narrow section? Dirt flies up over the screen.
Wow, the 3 of them really close together as they come into the tight, twisty section. You can see the Veloce car all over the back of the Acciona Sainz, but there's no way through it this section. Oh, hard on the brakes for Veloce. They've made a mistake there for Emma Gilmore. It's allowed the car for X44 to really close up, but they've done nothing with it. This is great for the Sainz team. They've managed to pull away.
I wonder if the grip levels are really different up there, because that's an uncharacteristic mistake from Gilmore, but also from Gutierrez behind. Gutierrez was right there. She ran the nose wide again. It doesn't look that much more slippery to us, but Carlos Sainz leading out front. Jenny, we were wondering where was everyone going to use the hyperdrive. I think we've had our answer. They all hit the button within about half a second of each other. After the bumpy start section, it's the long, fast section down to the hairpin. But, oh yeah, standing water.
Look how much water there is. There wasn't there yesterday. So overnight they've had a lot of rain, and you can see it's enabling the cars to try and actually battle each other by that lake. So tight and twisty. Again, out in front it is the Sainz car. Look, they're growing that lead all the time, and I think actually the X44 car keep being held up a little bit by Veloce right now.
Yeah, definitely. Gutierrez is trying to find a way through, but we said yesterday, you cannot pass it. You shall not pass. There is no way through. Cut to the inside line. That was what a number of the teams were doing yesterday. We can definitely see that the sand is a bit damper and that there's some mud around the side of the lake there. Cars looking a little bit more sideways. Visibility slightly less. Now we come down the sandy section. They need to not let Carlos get too far away from them, because obviously they want to give their drivers the best chance possible to try and chase down on the second half of the run. I still think, Jenny, you might as well hold on to that hyperdrive. I think the fact that, look how close they are together here. You could end up with 3 cars close together. If you'd held on to your hyperdrive, you'd be looking to make a pass on one of these flat sections down here. So the other teams would be looking at this and analysing, could it be an option?
Rain pouring down at Kangaloo Stack. The team's just coming to the switchback, and the Russell Glacier is behind them as they start going through this very bumpy session. There we go, as we pull out, you can see the glacier, the reason we're here, the reason Extreme E came here to look at that and the whole ice sheet, the impact that we're having on Arctic and global warming. But you can see Sainz, the Acciona team, out in front at the moment. Veloce, then X44.
Yeah, it's mud, isn't it now? Up at the hairpin, there was mud rather than gravel for the first time. Looking back from, are we looking back from Sainz's car? There's a bigger gap now. So where has Gutierrez gone? Gutierrez, I think, has got a problem. Veloce have gapped X44 big time, unless she just had... Where would she have made up that time? We didn't see that. So there's a big gap now between Veloce and X44. Looking at X44, there's no issues, no punctures that we can see. Gutierrez is just going to have to try and make that back up, but there's some 5 seconds between them, and Gutierrez was literally right on the rear bumper of Gilmore.
This is absolutely perfect, as you see this big jump, and I wonder if there is a problem with that car. As you said, they're on the brakes, just not really approaching that jump as quickly as she has been all weekend. I mean, Gutierrez, incredible story. She's coming back from the Kazakhstan rally, where she won the class, but in the process ruptured 2 of her vertebrae. She is recovered. We've seen her this weekend doing well, but it's one heck of a comeback for her to come into this aggressive terrain.
It is. She's going to be getting battered in the car. She will be fully medically fit. She'll have had to pass a medical to get back in the car, and there's no way she would have done it. There's no way the team would have allowed her to do it. It's a big gap, look, between Sainz and Gilmore. That's gone up by about a second, but it is maintaining at 5 seconds now between Veloce and X44 as they cross that plane back in. This is the area where I think you could use the hyperdrive, as I say, to make a pass, but I don't know, maybe they'll all be aiming to be out front. Look at this, on board with Sainz now, moving the car around, sliding into that long left-hander as he comes up towards the end of the lap. Look, Jenny, I think there would be a difference to grip levels now for the first time this weekend, just with the amount of dampness there is down there in the soil and in the sand.
This is perfect for Carlos Sainz. He wants to come into the switch zone with a really decent lead, so he can hand over to Leia Sands and they can try and extend that. But this is a tricky part of the track. If you haven't watched it before, then they're coming up to an area called Rock Garden. You can see there are huge boulders that these cars have to navigate. We've seen punctures, we've seen all sorts of problems for teams, but actually he went over there quite gingerly, and it was a nice line that he took.
Yeah, good line from Sainz in the background. Gilmore's about to cross the Rock Garden. Now here she comes, launches it in a little bit harder, but still a good line from her, and then we're waiting for X44. This is where you can have your potential issues. Gutierrez nice through there as well. So they've seemed to have, the very big rock that a few teams hit yesterday, I wonder if someone's been out there and rolled it out of the way under the cover of dark, but that was a good line from everyone. Gutierrez now as well has closed the gap down by a couple of seconds, or she had on Veloce. Coming up to the switch zone now, we're going to get our best idea. So Acciona are in. Let's see what the gap was to Veloce as Emma Gilmore comes in. So when Emma crosses that line, she brakes early to get it down to 30, and she's in as well. Okay, here we go, switch time, and then it's on to the second laps.
So they're under speed limit, so that's why they're going very slowly. It's because they have to pull the speed right down to 30 kilometers. They come up to the chevron, you can see the Sainz car, turn right. They've assigned a bay already, so they have to go into that bay that they have been assigned. Then they have to do the switch, driver out, driver in, and one of the team members is allowed to help them with that. So there's only 3 people allowed in their bay. They have to switch on neutral, and now the switch.
So the reason they were looking across to the guy in front is they were all looking to the left is because there's an indicator on the front of the car to let them know when it's into neutral. So Carlos now climbs in. This needs to be fast. Sorry, Leia Sanz climbs in, Carlos climbs out. So their lap belt on first of all. Gutierrez out, Sebastian Loeb in. So Sebastian Loeb, the 9-time World Rally Champion, is at the back of the pack. 45 seconds is the minimum. Obviously, you can go longer if you want to. Gutierrez helping Loeb.
I think if you need to.
Yes. Well, you don't want to. Yeah, good shout. Yeah. If you get it horribly wrong, great shout, Jenny.
And we have seen this being a pinch point where mistakes are made.
Loeb and Gutierrez have got it done for X44 already. Carlos Sainz watching on as they shut the door on the Acciona Sainz machine.
Go, go, go!
That's good. So that's good, though. They looked across. What you don't want to be doing is panicking and going, go, go, go. So she's got out. They've done it under 45. Loeb at the back. So Loeb and Sarazan now, both way more experienced, remember, than Leia Sanz. Leia Sanz still learning the differences between bikes, cars, and I don't know if you fancy looking in your mirrors and going, hang on a minute, I think that's Stefan Sarazan and Sebastian Loeb, 2 of the most experienced drivers in the world chasing you out. It's going to be hard work, isn't it?
Very
daunting. She needs to get to that narrow section first. That would be a huge advantage if she can get there, but it's the second half of the lap as well. They're going to be hunting big time now. Here we go.
So cars up to full racing speed now. It is Sanz, Sarazan, Loeb. What huge names taking to this track. Remember, this is the first time these drivers have attempted this part of the track. It was changed overnight to add to the drama. Do we need drama added? This is great.
Loeb was reaching up there. I wasn't sure if his comms weren't plugged in, if he was trying to pull the belts a bit tighter. You're on board now with Sebastian Loeb. His first target is Stefan Sarazan in front, but Sarazan is no slouch. WRC experience, remember, as well as endurance racing. It's vastly talented driver.
Yeah, really incredible pedigree of drivers that have signed up for Extreme E. And we have some great racing lined up. This is just the first of 2 semi-finals, then the crazy race.
Sanz is into the narrow section already, so she's maintained that gap look of 12 seconds up to the narrow section. Loeb is within 2 now of Veloce Sarazan. He won't be able to pass near, he'll know that. He'll just get as close as he can. Remember, the top 2 are going through, so only one isn't going to make it. Oh, wonderful shot backwards. Lights ablaze there for Loeb. Comes up through the mud, dirt getting flung up over the screen. Brilliant stuff.
Pressurising all the time, Sarazan, into maybe a mistake, maybe an error. Yes, it's narrow up there, but you still want to deliver that pressure on another team and another driver to just let them know you are there, you are waiting. So a narrow section, but you can just see there is no space between Loeb and the car in front, the Veloce team. Oh, look, it's looking for a way round on the inside. Can he do it? No, not quite. That is brave from Loeb, but what else would you expect? Looking for another way round.
He's having another look, going to get into the rear quarter, going to go up the inside of Sarazan, cuts up over, goes through the side of the lake. Loeb makes a pass where we said you couldn't pass. Well, that's out the window, isn't it? 9-time World Rally Champion says, yeah, you can. No worries. Wow. I wonder if Veloce is struggling for traction, Jenny, because we saw Emma Gilmore struggle through this section as well. Gutierrez was all over the back of her, so maybe the difference in settings between the 2 cars, but X44 looked to have great traction, and Loeb is now absolutely slicing into the lead of Leia Sanz. It was 9 seconds, it's down to 7. Look in the background. He's on a big push, and Sarazan's going with him.
Loeb has been so disappointed that when it comes to race day, they haven't been able to put the performance together that they thought they could. So this is their chance for redemption. They've been brilliant on a Saturday, and when it comes to Sunday, they always seem to just lose out. So they're trying to claw back points to the leaders. They are trying to get on top of RXR, and they are trying desperately to win this Grand Prix weekend.
Loeb takes a little look in his mirror. They've actually got mirrors on the outside of the car and cameras. If you look behind the screen, they've got 2 little cameras which are facing backward on the front quarters as well, so they can take a look at what's going on behind. He's got the lead down to under 5 seconds. Oh, Carlos Sainz and the Acciona Sainz team will be having kittens back in the command centre watching this. Can she hold on for the rest of this lap? I don't think anyone used their hyperdrive, Jenny, on the first part, and that makes me think they're going to be using it now. So Sanz has got to use it to defend. Loeb and Saraz are going to use it to attack, and it's about how quick you want to go over these crests, what risks are you willing to take. If you don't make it through to the final, you're out. You've got to take a risk.
This is going to be the longest second part of a race in Leia Sanz's career, possibly. She's being hunted down by one of the greatest drivers in the world. It's terrifying, but it's fantastic.
There he is, Sebastian Loeb.
Cool and calm.
Yeah, no visors down today. Visibility so much lower. I'm thinking races in the dark. I'm loving the lights. I'm loving the wet as well. I like the tricky conditions. Loeb's really close now. He's 2.6 seconds back. Airs it out big time. 2.1 seconds back. Slices another half second. Oh, look at the background.
Wow.
Biggest jump of the weekend from Sarazan. That was insane.
He took so much height into that jump. It was incredible. But look, this is the lead. This is the battle for it. It's Sainz. It's X44. Are we going to see a hyperdrive now when one of the cars wants to pass? I think it's a wise time to use it, but Loeb, one of the wisest men out there. And look, he is closing down that gap. He is going to get that Acciona Sainz team.
Leia Sands up and over the crest. Loeb is out just in behind now. He's right on her rear quarter. Still, we haven't seen anybody use hyperdrive. We're going to see it now. Loeb's in behind. Here we go. Sebastian Loeb on the hyperdrive, going for the pass and just blasts straight round the outside. Leia Sands responds by using hers as well, but Loeb has just got a nose in front. Going to come down to the braking zone at the next crest. Who's going to be latest for it? Loeb might move across and try and block her on the line. Brilliant move for X44. Acciona Sainz there. How far back of Veloce?
Yeah, they are, well, how far, they're closing at the moment, are they? We're just having a look. Look, 3 cars comes through. X44, Acciona Sainz, Veloce Racing. They are so close. And what's going to happen here? Because we haven't seen 3 cars really aggressively racing. They don't want to be side by side when it gets to the rock garden. That could be disaster for one of them.
It couldn't be closer as we come up to the end of this race. Back end of the car kicks up now for Acciona Sainz. X44 leading, coming up to the rock garden. Oh, look, Stefan Sarazan is right there. Leia Sands needs to be super defensive now. Loeb, how quickly he's going to go across. He's got to take a risk on it. The cars are too close to be going slowly through here. Sarazan goes for an alternate line, launches the Veloce machine. It's a brilliant move by Stefan Sarazan to take the lead. Sebastian Loeb drops down to P2. Unbelievable. Leia Sands up and over the crest, side by side now. Loeb is going to, he's broken the suspension. He drops back. Sebastian Loeb going to take the win for X44. Second place, Leia Sands for Acciona Sainz, but incredible by Stefan Sarazan. I know the car's broken, but the dream nearly came true. He took the lead with that alternate line. What a semi-final.
Oh, he had to try it. He was in 3rd place. The only option for him was to try something different. Yes, it didn't work. You can see Emma Gilmore, his teammate in the background, disappointed. Woo, that was absolutely brilliant racing. It's what we hoped it would be. X44 take the win. Wow.
Best race of the season, calling it. Sorry, that's it.
So far.
You can, yeah, so far. I'm fired up. Now I'm fired up. Absolutely brilliant.
I'm with Veloce's Emma Gilmore. Emma, how exciting was that? I mean, your heart must have been going.
It was so exciting. Yeah, and Stefan did a great job doing that move at the end. I mean, you had to gamble it. You know, it's our chance to get to the final, and unfortunately, it didn't pay off. So, you know, hats off to him. He gave it a go, and if it had pulled it off, it would have been great.
Thank you.
Well, as well as getting our Pulses races, and that one certainly did get Pulses racing, didn't it? Through great competition. Extreme is also raising awareness of climate change. And earlier on this weekend, Caroline de Moraes, our presenter out on site, had a catch-up with a member of Extreme's Science Committee about the issues facing Greenland.
I'm here with Professor Richard Washington, who is a member of the Extreme E's Science Committee. Richard, I wanted to ask you, where do CO2 emissions come from?
Primarily from the burning of fossil fuels, which we really cheap source of energy, and we've been doing that for 150 years or so. And if you break that down into sectors, it's entwined in so many aspects of our life. It's in transport, energy, agriculture, and the food that we eat, the buildings. All of that contributes to emissions, extra emissions of CO2 into the atmosphere.
I'm going to ask you what I can do, but for everyone at home, I just want you to make a quick mental note of this first flag. I will come back to it. Now, Richard, I think, little old me, what can I do in the grand scheme of things? How am I going to make a difference with climate change? I'm too small of a person to do anything. Break it down for me. What can I do?
As a climate scientist, I've asked myself that question a lot too, and it turns out that we have more choice than you might think. When I head off in the morning to work, I might get into a petrol or diesel car, turn the heating up, play my favorite music, or I could have an electric car, or I could have a bicycle. And the latter two will do a lot to help the environment. When I come home from work at the end of the day and flick the light switch on, turn the heating up, there's choices there as well. Of course, that depends where you are in the world and which country you live in. But for me, I could subscribe to a company that works with renewables and isn't involved in as much CO2 production through fossil fuel burning. Likewise, when it comes to dinner, I could eat red meat 7 days a week, and that would contribute much more CO2 to the atmosphere, or I could back off on that. And it turns out that many of these choices are healthy choices too. Cycling to work or eating less red meat is something that would please my GP too.
It absolutely would, and I guess it's not just one person doing it, but we times it by billions of people, and then suddenly we're making an impact.
Suddenly there's a massive impact. Probably one of the most important things is for individuals to accept the state of the problem that we have, the size of the problem that we have, and that'll ease the choices that we can make.
Well, listen, Richard, thank you so much. And I mentioned the first flag, and now we've got a second flag here. Now, this is the average distance that the glacier behind me is reducing by on a daily basis. Little food for thought there.
All this talk about food's making me hungry. I don't know about you, but really fascinating insight from Professor Richard Washington. He's a huge motorsport fan as well, sat down with Lewis Hamilton ahead of the season and really shared some of his insight.
Yeah, brilliant to have attracted the likes of Lewis Hamilton and also the likes of people like Carlos Sainz, an absolute rally legend. Carlos loved the idea of Extreme E so much that he decided to found his own team and drive in it as well. Let's hear a bit more about them and their season so far.
Acciona Science XE, with 2 times World Rally Champion and 3 times Dakar Rally winner Carlos Sainz Sr. and 11-time Dakar racer Laia Sanz behind the wheel, have had a roller coaster opening 2 races, with moments of brilliance and misfortune coming in equal measures. Their combined desert experience from the Dakar Rally came in handy during qualifying in Saudi Arabia.
It feels good to be in a terrain more familiar to me. I'm excited to start, but also a bit, nervous.
An excellent performance saw them fly across the sand to secure 2nd place overall.
We are P2. Laia is doing a great job. I'm happy, we are happy, and yeah, let's see tomorrow what is happening.
Despite this initial success, there were doubts on how they would fare when the wheel-to-wheel action began, as both drivers come from a rally background. In the semi-final, Carlos showed that he wasn't afraid to get stuck in as he fought for position against Hamilton's X44 and Rosberg's RXR. Despite a fearless effort, he was unable to take the lead, and with limited visibility in the desert dust, they finished 3rd in the race, losing their spot in the final.
I think we have a good start. Then before the first corner, I have a small touch with Sebastian Loeb, and then it was over for me.
In Senegal, they hope to once again capitalise on their Dakar racing experience. However, a technical issue in qualifying saw the car break down on course and disappointingly landed them in the shootout race. Carlos once again showed his wheel-to-wheel racing prowess and took the lead at turn 1 with a late braking manoeuvre. After the switch, it was down to Laia Sanz to bring it home, but despite her best efforts on lap 2, she wasn't able to hold on to the lead, resulting in an 8th place finish overall.
For us, wasn't so good this weekend. We had good chance here because of the terrain, so it is a pity that straight away we were out, but this is how motorsport is sometimes.
Both Carlos and Laia, with their combined desert racing experience, have adapted well to this brand new electric series, proving they have what it takes to be competitive in both the racing and qualifying rounds. But with the colder climate and gravel terrain of the Arctic X Prix up next, will they keep their cool or freeze under the pressure?
Fifteen seconds.
Hansen for Andretti United, Kristoffersen for RXR, the championship leaders in the middle of the grid. Jutta Kleinsmith for Abt Cupra. Wait for that light to go green and we'll be launching down to turn 1. They've not experienced this part of the track at all before. Green light now, brilliant start in the middle of the grid for RXR. Fantastic reactions from Johan Kristoffersen. I think that right-hand side of the grid for Andretti United is tough stuff. It's a bit bumpier on the run away. Jutta Kleinsmith, though, looks to have edged them on the run towards the first corner. Now Kristoffersen crests it up, comes alongside, side by side with the Abt Cupra machine. Timmy Hansen right up underneath. Hansen looking up the inside line. Will Kristoffersen Kristoffersen know he's there or not? Timmy Hansen makes a pass in turn one. Johan Kristoffersen now on the left-hand side of the car. He might have an advantage as they run down towards the hairpin. Expect them to use the hyperdrive any minute now unless they want to hold on for lap two. Kristoffersen goes now later in the lap. We thought he might pass his Hansen immediately. He's going to now have that inside line. Timmy Hansen, I think, is waiting, as we suggested, for later in the lap.
Wow, so it's RXR. They are leading the way. It is Kristoffersen. Used his hyperdrive already. Then Hansen, then Kleinschmidt. A nice lead, but you can see the Andretti United team closing up with really nice late braking there from Hansen. And he closes the gap up to the RXR team really nicely.
So RXR, that's off the start. I said lap two, I meant later in the lap. I wondered if they would all wait because they were later. Last time, semi-1, we saw them all use the hyperdrive at the same moment. Timmy there, he knows Johan's gone, it's fine. So RXR have prioritised the whole shot. They've prioritised being number one on the road and used it there. Timmy Hansen and Andretti United gone, you know what, we're going to wait, we're going to use it on the second half of the lap. So this might be an opportunity for Timmy to come back past Johan. Due to Kleinschmidt, how far back is she? Not far. You just saw her headlights appear. She's about 8 seconds down the road.
So this is a section in semi-final one that we saw a pass being made. Can Hansen do anything about this? Because he's right behind Kristoffersen. We see the inside line. Oh,
Kristoffersen's taken a flag down.
Yeah, he's taken a flag down. That could well be a penalty. You're not allowed to knock those waypoint flags down. Visibility so poor for Andretti United.
That could be a 10-second penalty. It could be even more. I suspect they'll go with 10. We did see a 5 yesterday as well, I think, for a missed waypoint, but that was when the car was broken. So will RXR get a 10-second penalty? And more importantly, will they be far enough up the road? Because they'll need now to make sure they've got a gap of 10 seconds over everybody else. So that's a little bit of an unknown. We'll wait and see what comes up on the timing screen. Hansen didn't go for the pass, but I know Timmy, he will have spotted that Johan's taken that flag down. He'll be on that already.
Yeah, this could be a real game changer in terms of this. And I bet you the teams are trying to radio to their drivers to say to them, and even Kleinschmidt, who's a little bit further back, there is still opportunity for you here. But that's not going to stop Hansen from trying to make a move as they go down to the chicane. This turn 16, where the Russell Glacier is in the background of the shot, and Hansen will try and close in on the Rosberg car and see if he can make a move.
Timmy Hansen's going to want to give Katie Mullings the biggest gap he possibly can over Matthias Ekstrom. Ekstrom yesterday was absolutely on fire in the App Cooper machine. They're going to want a big gap like Laia Sanz had with Carla Sainz to try and make sure that she can hold on to that position. At the minute, Hansen and Kristoffersen, they've battled so many times in the World Rallycross Championship. These two know each other, they know each other's moves, they know how capable the other driver is. But don't forget, Andretti United have still got that hyperdrive to use. Kleinschmidt now is 15 seconds back down the road, reaches down to the dash. I wonder if she was going to go for the hyperdrive then. 17 seconds down. 10-second penalty. So it's a 10-second penalty for RXR, and that means now they have to come in 10 seconds ahead.
Side by side as they come down the hill. They are side by side, and this is the moment Hansen feels that he can take the lead, and he has. But the crossback, the switchback from RXR, he's taken the high road. You can see there's a big difference in the height of the dunes there. This is the riverbed, but Hansen looking like he's got a great line, the inside line into this high jump.
Fantastic stuff from Timmy Hansen, very opportunistic. Johan Kristoffersen jumps it out big time in the background, but don't forget Hansen has still got that hyperdrive. He'll use that, I'm sure, to gap Johan on that long section back towards the rock garden. Neither of these two is going to take a risk, and you saw what Johan said before the race. The end of semi-1 was a bit exciting. Molly's going to be dealing with that.
Yeah, a lot of water, standing water in the riverbeds today. They didn't have to tackle that yesterday, so they're experiencing something very difficult and different. You can just see visibility very limited. That's another reason you want to be out in front. You give yourself the opportunity to pick your line, but also better visibility. But the gap closing all the time. Hyperdrive for Hansen and the Andretti United team. They are getting the hyperdrive boost now, and you can see that's just led them to ease away from the Rosberg X Racing team.
Yeah, it's giving him 10, 15 car lengths, I'd say, across there. The gap's gone up from half a second to a second. It's not much. In terms of lap time, it's not much. It's when you use it to pass. So Timmy kept it. He actually didn't need it because he made that brilliant pass on the run into one of the riverbeds there. But for Johan now and for Molly taking over crucially, they have to come home 10 seconds ahead of either Andretti United or Abt Cupra, or the championship leaders will not go through.
This is really ragged racing as well at the moment. You can see that both of the guys in the car are really wringing the necks of these Odyssey 21s. They're heavy cars, almost 2 tons, but look, you can see it's taking a different line, and I think Kristoffersen's going to try and pass Hansen here.
Brilliant move, caught up. I don't think there's anywhere to go over the rock garden. He's closed him right down, though, and it's going to mean that Molly's going to come in super tight. Timmy there almost went defensive on the run into the rock garden, but so there's no way Johan's going to risk it in there on this first lap. You've got to save those big risks for the second lap when you've only got 100 or so metres to go. So RXR are going to follow Andretti United into the switch zone, I'm pretty sure of that. They might be side by side, looking at things here. Johan's close, but no, he's in behind. So it's about this gap now. Back to Abt Cupra, 27 seconds back for Jutta Kleinschmidt. She's going to hand over, though, to Matthias Ekstrom, and Ekstrom, as we know, is very quick indeed. Kristoffersen to Taylor, and oh, there we go, late on the brakes. Kristoffersen passes Hansen on the brake zone to the switch.
So sneaky, isn't it? What an old trick, but he is wily, and he just used that momentum, took himself a little bit further under braking, and goes into the switch zone leading, but they will have this 10-second penalty to serve. So what they'll do is they'll come into the switch zone. They have to have the driver switch, 45 seconds, and they have to spend 10 seconds extra in that pit lane. Hansen knows that. Munnings will get into the car. She'll know it. They will leave the switch zone unless they have a disaster leading this X Prix.
In we come now. So I say, crucially, it's all. This is all for me. This is all about the championship leaders. It's all about RXR. They've got this 10-second penalty. Ekstrom jumping into Abt Cupra. Molly Taylor jumping into RXR. Katie Munnings getting in for Andretti United. They're 30 seconds up. What are we hearing here between them? Not a lot. They've got to go through. If they don't go through, remember that already X44 are through, Jenny. The pressure's on here. X44 are in the final. If RXR don't make it, championship's going to change big time.
Speak to drivers all the time about how long penalties actually feel like, and the 10-second penalty for them will feel like forever.
I'm not sure if it gets added. I think it gets added to the time at the end. I don't think they'll have to stop there for 10. I think they'll go out now when they were supposed to. I think they'll leave on time. We'll see in a moment. And yeah, they are. So they're leaving on time. There we go. This is the moment where he hit the flag. So he comes into this left-hander and goes up on the berm, not too high. The car's understeering. He gets it with the rear. So he gets on the gas to try and stop the car from understeering, but and just clips it with the rear right wheel and takes the flag down. So Timmy will have seen that. Katie now knows she's got to be within 10 seconds of them to you know, she's got to try and follow Molly, basically. Follow Molly Taylor, but keep an eye on your mirrors, because here is coming Matthias Ekstrom for Abt Cupra. It's just, yeah, madness. Cool.
Right, all three teams have now left, so we've had our driver switch. Taking to the cars is Molly Taylor for RXR, Katie Munnings, Andretti United, Matthias Ekstrom for Abt Cupra. Three great drivers out there, and they have their hyperdrives reset, so they'll all have to use those once. And you can see Matthias Ekstrom has his work cut out. He needs to pull back time, and RXR need to pull out their lead. They have this 10-second penalty. As Andrew Coley said, who's next to me, Jenny Gow in the commentary box, they need to extend their lead so that 10 seconds doesn't take away from them going through. Top teams go through.
I'm with RXR's Johan Kristoffersen. Johan, you got a 10-second penalty. How tricky were conditions out there?
Yeah, it was a bit tricky. It was just by the lake where it was a bit more slippery in the mud. And obviously there I also touched the track marker. So yeah, made the life a little bit more difficult for Molly, but that's it.
Best of luck, thank you.
He's super calm, Johan. It won't fluster him because he knows Molly is an absolutely class act. They've won both events so far, Jenny. I'm not betting against them at all. Katie's in a nice position here in that she can follow Molly. We know Molly is absolutely on the pace, and Katie will try to go with her. As I say, it's how far back. Ekstrom's actually 37 seconds back down the road. Nobody's used their hyperdrive yet, so they'll be saving that for the back side of the course. I wonder if Ekstrom's going to be able to close that gap or not.
These drivers have spent the first semi-final with their teams in their little cubby holes out there in Greenland, looking at what other drivers are doing. They've watched that first semi-final and they've worked out how they're going to approach this, the lines they want to take. Rosberg, X Racing, and Molly Taylor using the banking to kind of catapult themselves along that lakeside as well. So they all have a tactic coming into this.
Ekstrom's losing time. He's lost 3 seconds in that last sector, and that is not like Matthias Ekstrom. So I wonder if he's got an issue. I would expect him to close through the narrow sections, but at the minute he's not. He's losing time. He's lost another second and a half. I think Abt Cupra have got an issue because Matthias Ekstrom's pace yesterday would have been definitely equal to, if not a little bit quicker, and we would expect him to close that gap. So they'll be on the radio to Molly at Rosberg X Racing and saying, look, just wind it in a bit, you're okay. He's a long way back.
So in the small screen, we're on board with Ekstrom. As you can see, he only now going past that lake and making the climb up to that small section. Oh, look at that, lovely from Munnings as she comes down the hill and gives a little bit of sideways action. Going up to turn 16, the ice sheet as they'll come back on themselves and head towards the finish line. It's still a long way to go in this race. We can still see a lot of change out there.
This is great by Katie Munnings. She's absolutely staying with Molly Taylor. I think it's fair to say Molly's been the fastest woman in the series, hasn't she? There are points where she's been, I think she was P2 in the super sector if we'd had one in Saudi Arabia, which we didn't, but we measured that middle sector. Definitely rapid. Munnings is going with her. Munnings is actually closed down by half a second, but again, right now they can afford to take it a little bit more easily because of that gap back to P3.
Oh.
As I say that, they're not taking it easy at all.
I love this. It's fascinating to watch how the different drivers have different styles, how they enter, how they exit. You come down this, but it's a big drop, and I tell you what, Munnings is closing all the time with the Russell Glacier in the background.
So they could go here to try and make the pass using hyperdrive, but with a 10-second penalty, my money would be on don't. The extra risk isn't necessary, just follow them home. As long as you're within 10, you get the win. So they'll get the win, and that'll put RXR down into P2. We've got grid play for the final anyway, so it's not going to make a massive difference to your grid position. If it was row 1 or row 2, you'd be thinking, okay, no, I want to be in front, but they're all in a line on the grid. So it's going to come down more to the votes in terms of grid play for that anyway. So I reckon Munnings will follow Taylor home.
You have to use your hyperdrive,
As I
whatever
say that,
happens.
she passes her. Brilliant.
Of course.
Well done. Proper commentator's curse.
Yeah.
Go on then, Katie.
And that's without the hyperdrive. She's still got that up her sleeve to use as well. Remember, Taylor yesterday had that roll. She was absolutely fine, carried on with the car. And that section of the track has been taken away for today to make the racing a little bit better. And my word, it has not failed, has it? As Munnings launches that car into the sky, and now she uses her hyperdrive. You can see the difference it makes for 4 seconds, that extra power boost. The back of RXR's car, there's just a bit of bodywork has come away, so I wonder if there was a little incident there, maybe a touch.
I think Andretti United have found a line through the riverbed, which is quick. That's the same place that Hansen passed Munnings, so I think they've found something which is just a little bit of an alternate line through there. This is wonderful by Katie. I'm completely wrong. I'm perfectly happy to take that on the chin. But you can see, look at the confidence in the car. She's followed Molly through the lap. She's now super quick through here. Molly Taylor coming in. And crucially for both, or particularly for RXR, Ekstrom has dropped back. He's 45 seconds back down the road, and that is going to mean that RXR, even with the 10-second penalty, are going to go through.
We know we've still got the final ahead of us, and there is absolutely no point Katie Munnings going out there and just trawling around. She needs to get her gameplay on. She needs to eye this new track, the change track from overnight, and work out how she wants to approach this. You can see Ekstrom 45 seconds down now, but they're coming up towards the finish. Into the rock garden. It is going to be the Andretti United team that lead out of here. The big boulders that are just perilous. The tyres doing a superb job over really tricky conditions. And you can see Taylor closing in. Can she jump up and make any gap? Come down? I don't think so. They're coming towards the end. It's going to be a very close thing. It's going to be the Andretti United team and Katie Munnings, Timmy Hansen pairing that take the win. They've done a fantastic job. Rosberg X Racing also go through. They were 11 seconds behind in the end. They had that penalty. That's why it's 11 seconds. They did a great job too. Disappointment for the Abt Cooper team. They get knocked out for this round. But my word, what a drive that was from Katie Munnings and Timmy Hansen.
Absolutely brilliant. Timmy's desperate to take the cans. You can see in the command centre he wants to get on there and congratulate Katie for what was a brilliant drive. I thought she'd take it easy and just bring it home behind, knowing there was a penalty there. She made the pass, and that will be huge for her confidence levels. Absolutely brilliant. The smile on her face and the fist pump when she crossed the line tells you all you need to know. That meant a huge amount to Katie. She's just matched up to her biggest rival in the series. Brilliant.
Yeah, they all go way back. All of these drivers know each other from different disciplines. It's a very small world, isn't it, out there in the world of driving.
I'm just listening in to Ekstrom, and he's not running at full RPM there. I don't know if he's just crossed the line and backed off. I think he has, but yeah, not for Kleinschmidt and Ekstrom. It's a shame, isn't it? Look at Katie Munnings. Look how pleased she is. Go on, Katie.
Absolutely. Well, what a couple of semi-finals it was. A result of semi-final 2. Absolutely cracking. Going through. It was the RXR and Andretti United teams.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant drive by Katie Munnings on that second lap. There they are, Timmy Hansen and Katie Munnings for Andretti United. Co-owned, of course, by Michael Andretti and Zach Brown.
Zach Brown currently standing in the rain. Couldn't be here in Greenland, but he is in Spa. No racing taking place there, but plenty to come here in Greenland.
I wonder what they can do from there. First ever 5-car final. Of course, we've got one place still up for grabs in the crazy race. And then 5 cars down to turn. What do you reckon?
Could be a real mess, but it's bound to be brilliant whatever happens. Really excited about what's still to come, so don't go anywhere. We have more racing on the way here in Kalaallit in Greenland.
Greenland is the setting for the third event in the very first season of Extreme E, a racing series for state-of-the-art electric SUVs, and this is the Arctic X Prix. I'm Andrew Coley, and with me in the commentary box is Jenny Gow.
Yes, this weekend we're in Western Greenland, near Kalaallit, close to the Russell Glacier, which, like the rest of the Arctic region, is suffering from the effects of global warming.
We've already seen some great action earlier on today with the 2 semi-finals. This was Stefan Serrazan with a last corner dash up the inside. He took the lead, but it didn't quite work out. We'll take a little bit more of a look back at that action before we get stuck into the final later on. But brilliant stuff from both, and an amazing run from Andretti United too.
Yeah, we had such shows of courage, of ability. It was a joy to watch. This just gives you a little teaser, just to get you excited about what's still to come.
Fantastic drive there. Well, the racing this year has been awesome, but of course, the other key aspect of Extreme E is raising awareness and helping in the global fight against climate change.
The Arctic is incredibly important in studying climate change because it's warming up faster than any other part of the world.
Greenland is an important piece of the climate change problem because 80% of the island is covered by an ice sheet. It's very vulnerable to warming, and therefore we're losing ice. We're losing ice on Greenland, but we're also losing sea ice. And the sea ice is a mirror that reflects solar radiation back to the atmosphere. And when we lose it, rather than being reflected up, it's absorbed by the ocean and contributes to warming. Since 1979 to present, we have seen losses of sea ice in the summer, which have increased at 13% per decade. So the Greenland ice sheet is one of the most important reservoirs of ice in the planet.
This is, of course, a huge ice sheet, but it's losing mass at an enormous rate. In fact, last time we were on it, it was the biggest daily loss in history was 12.5 billion tons of water melted off in that one day.
And on the last years, the rate of loss of ice and the delivery of fresh water to the ocean has been equivalent to be able to flood England with 2 meters of water every year coming from the Greenland ice sheet.
In August this year, the rain was observed to fall on the top of the Greenland ice sheet for the first time. That's 4,000 meters above sea level, and it's never rained there before. The big consequence of the melting of land ice is that sea level rises, and it's inexorable that it's rising. And all of that retreat produces meltwater, and the meltwater goes into the ocean and causes sea level rise. More than 600 million people live in areas that are below 10 meters above sea level.
We must absolutely take action everywhere to avoid that the unleashed climate change that we're starting to experience in the Arctic propagates and cascades and affects the entire planet. It is a situation where we need all hands on deck and all solutions on deck.
Let's take a look at the driver standings here in Kalaallit in Greenland. Top of the table, Molly Taylor and Johan Kristoffersen, teammates, of course, for Rosberg Extreme Racing on 81 points. In P2 behind them is X44, Cristina Gutierrez and Sebastian Loeb, 69 points each. Now, they out-qualified RXR yesterday, and that meant that the championship lead came down from 14 points to 12. They're closing in. Let's have a look at what X44 have done so far this season.
X44, founded by Lewis Hamilton, has one of the strongest driver pairings on the grid, with Cristina Gutierrez, the second woman in history to win a stage of the Dakar Rally, alongside 9-time World Rally champion Sebastian Loeb. Arriving in Saudi Arabia, they hit the ground running and qualified in first place. Day 2 saw them line up for the first wheel-to-wheel racing action, and after a hard-fought semi-final, they slotted into second place, securing a spot in the final. Loeb lined up against the 2019 World Rallycross champion Timmy Hansen and the reigning World Rallycross champion Johan Kristoffersen. Unfortunately for Seb, his competition was the least of his problems.
I think Loeb's got some sort of an issue there. He was really struggling.
No power steering, no power steering.
Despite that bad luck, it was a great opening weekend for the team, and momentum was on their side as they took to the beaches of Senegal. They put together some excellent laps under pressure to secure the best time overall in qualifying and even more championship points. In the semi-final, after a tough start, they entered the switch zone in third place, but a communication error for the Abt Cooper team during the driver switch saw them take second place. Christina was all over Molly Taylor, but wasn't able to take the lead and cross the line in second, meaning they would go head-to-head once again in the final. After a quick start off the line, Christina and her rival Molly Taylor were neck and neck going into the first turn. This is a real good battle between the two of them because they're not having to take the line they wanted to. Oh, disaster there for the Hamilton car. It's been pushed out really wide, lost so much time.
I come over, guys, sorry.
With damage after the contact with RXR, meaning they couldn't continue, they finished fourth overall. It was another disappointing end for the team, but with 2 qualifying wins and 2 trips to the final in the opening rounds, they've secured a strong points haul and a second in the championship. Will they continue their success in the Arctic X Prix?
We've had our 2 semi-finals. We've got 4 cars through to the final, but it's a 5-car final here in Greenland, and the crazy race is going to decide which one car goes through to join them on the grid.
So the crazy race, this is all about one final place in that last bit of the final. The action, the points on offer, it's all to play for. And they are off. You can see on the right-hand side, slightly difficult to get away. The Excite Energy team doing a good job though, but I think it's the JBXC team who are stretching out in front. They've taken the early lead. Kansegi TV, Chip Ganassi team fight back. They're going to try to as they go down to the slingshot. All the way to turn 6 is what they'll try and do. You can see them ducking and diving. Christine GZ at the back there. She's trying to find a way through, but at the moment it's Arlen Kotalinsky who goes out in front from Price and GZ. They're stretching out their lead. This is good stuff. No one using the hyperdrive, but just look, all 3 cars in a line. There's nothing between them at the moment.
I think they wait now on the hyperdrive, Jenny. They're not close enough, are they, to make the difference with that extra booster power, as I say that. Oh, okay, so there's confirmation of the penalty for JBXC. They will have a 30-second penalty at the switch zone, remember. So they're in the lead, that's where they need to be. But that lead needs to be more than 30 seconds. Going to be hard work for them to get that done. GZ, Christine GZ, in the turn 1 you could see the car was really bouncing around. I think that right-hand side of the grid, as the drivers sit on the grid, is tough to pull away from. We've said it at the start of both the semis, and I think that's it's a tough draw for the final if you end up over that side. Very bumpy on the brakes down into turn 1, but she's going to be able to make up some ground here. I think they'll come out of this very close together.
Well, they've got into that very narrow, ridged section where you've just got to almost be a passenger in the car and follow the lines that have been made throughout the weekend. But the pressure that Price is putting on Arlen Kotalinsky, good here. Kotalinsky just getting a little bit out of shape there at the start, but you can see Christine GZ trying to pull back time as well. This is close.
Yeah, Christine GZ's right up on the back of Chip Ganassi Racing with Sarah Price, who you're looking at now. We can look back and see the gap to the Excite Racing machine. This is the slippery section. Oh, Christine GZ looks to the inside line. It's where we saw that pass earlier on. Not going to happen this time, but Sebastian Loeb wasn't, who snuck a wheel in the side of the lake and decided that was within track limits, and it was, because all you've got to do is pass between these waypoint markers. Yep. Right behind her.
Unfortunately for GZ, she got a little bit messy coming down the hill and just lost a bit of time. She went wide onto some of that scrum, and I think it should have been just a little bit closer. She could have carried the momentum. But look, she is pressurising Sarah Price here. A brilliant drive from Christine GZ.
just got to stay close through this section and see what you can do on the second half of the lap. They'll be aware, I think, as well, both the Excite Energy Racing team and the Chip Ganassi team, that with that 30-second penalty, you can actually afford to let JBXC go a little bit. Now, of course, I said this about Katie Munnings and RXR, and Katie stuck a pass on Molly Taylor.
I think when you're in the car, it's so hard to think strategically, isn't it? You just want to go all out. And in these cars as well, in this background, this setting, you just can't fight your instinct. You're out there, you're racing, and you want to cross the line first.
So they'll be handing over, of course, at the midway point. Sarah Price reaching up to her helmet there. Wasn't moving around too much on the bump. Sometimes you actually see the helmets moving up and down, so it gives you a good idea of the brutality of the course. GC having a look up the inside line here. If there's contact, it could be trouble. Has she got the pass done? She has. Christine GC makes a pass up at the waypoint at the far end of the course. Sarah Price drops down to P3.
Wow, this is a big move from Christine GC. That Excite Energy team really coming back and making ground. They're doing a terrific job. And that Segi TV car, they need to find something, don't they, to come back. At the moment, remember, they have got the penalty for JBXC that's going to be served. They've just got to keep within sight of them and see what happens after this switch.
Remember, only one car goes through as well, you know, so yeah, you can count JBXC out if there isn't carnage for everybody else, but at this point in the race, it's far too early. Oh, broken steering! No way! Unbelievable! Segi TV, Chip Ganassi Racing just cannot get a break. Unbelievable.
That is heartbreak for them, and you could see the excitement that gave Ollie Bennett. I mean, you don't want to be good at you're cheering over something else before it, but he knows exactly. He knows it means with JBXC's penalty that there is a route through to the final.
So JBXC lead at the minute for Arlen Kotlinski and Hansen, but I think that just goes to show you as well, Jenny, that JBXC, they're not going to give up. There's no 30 seconds. Okay, it's a 30 seconds. That's the difference. Kevin Hansen is going to be jumping into that car to go up against Ollie Bennett. He will do his very best to get that 30 seconds back, and who's to say that you won't see damage to a car or somebody stick it on its roof? It's all still to play for.
Arlen Kotlinski has used the hyperdrive already. Expect the Excite Energy Racing team to use theirs now. They'll deploy it, they'll get an extra 4 seconds of power. There they go, and they'll try and close that gap once again on the JBXC team. But Arlen Kotlinski doing a great job. Jensen Button there in the command center, doing a little fist pump with Kevin Hansen. They know what they've got to do. They've got to eke out this gap and try and secure a place in the final.
I love that. I love the fact as well that Ollie Bennett and Kevin Hansen are now going to have to walk from the command center over to the switch zone together. You know, there might be a little chat. Sometimes there's a bit of banter, but yeah, it's
funny old walk, isn't it, together doing that? I almost sang then, I'll refrain, I don't need to do that. So you can see Segi TV have got the car going again, actually. I don't know how she's managed to do it. Maybe she got out, she knows her engineering, maybe she gave it a good whack and managed to do something.
It was a broken steering arm, definitely. It's whether or not there are any tools on the car, and if it's something simple like a bolt missing, but Sarah's not had time to get out of the car, fix that and get back in. So I think she's just dragging it round. Look how far back they are. She'll have to park it. She might be bringing it back for the team. Yeah. Rather than waiting for it to get recovered. I suspect they'd rather she parked it.
Get it out the way for the second lap as well. Make a decent job of it for these two who are going to be fighting hard.
They're great sports people, and they'll know, you know, they don't want to compromise the race. There we go. So, yeah, Sarah has parked it well off the side of the course. Well done, Sarah Price. I'm absolutely gutted for Sarah Price and Carl Leduc. I know we're going to see that explosive pace, you know, come to a full fruition event at some point this year, but I just feel like they need a change in luck. They really do.
Yeah, they're at the bottom of the standings, actually, at the moment, and as you say, they just need to get a break. Jensen Button, Formula One world champion, looks down. He knows what's at stake here. He desperately wants his team to get a place in that final. They've not got a 30-second gap to the team behind them, the Excite Energy Racing team, but all is not lost yet, I would say.
No, they're 2 or 3 seconds in front here, but they're serving that 30 seconds on top of the 45. So both cars are going to stop for full. Look at Kevin, he's fully fired up. That is a proper frown on there. Here we go.
JBX has used a 7. Once you use that 7 to go outside of the allocation, it incurs a penalty of 30 seconds during the switch.
So there we go, Scott Elkins explaining what we said earlier on. The 7th tyre, they're allowed 6, but the 7th tyre means they're going to have to wait that extra 30 seconds once the switch is done. Ollie Bennett jumping in.
Ollie Bennett is going to be leading this E Prix. When he gets in X Prix, apologies, he is going to pull away first. There is no doubt about it. Christine GZ doing a really good job managing to stay up with Arlen Kotlinski, but this is a great race. Hansen versus Bennett. This is what it comes down to. One place This is the crazy race, remember, only one place in the final to join the likes of RXR, Andretti United, Acciona Science and X44. They've all secured their place as they secure the drivers into the cars.
Don't forget, JBXE were P3 in the standings when they came here to
Yeah,
this
so
event.
their switch
They're right
time
up
is
there.
going
Here we
to
go.
be 75 seconds, because it's 45 seconds standard plus the 30.
Yep, so there we go, minute 15,
Exactly.
75 seconds. Bennett gets released now. Kevin Hansen will have to wait another 30. Look at that, they've got a green light for him as well. He's going to have that almost in full launch mode. Sticks the car into drive and go. That doesn't look like an insurmountable gap, does it? The 30 seconds doesn't look, but then Bennett's about to fire it up out of the 30K zone, and that's when the gap is going to start to grow. So you'll get a good idea in a moment. Remember, they're a couple of seconds up. I reckon, what do you think the gap will be, Jenny? It'll be close to 45 probably by the time Kevin leads. They came in 3 seconds up.
the race is on, brother.
Yep, the race is on. That's what's being said. And out there goes Bennett and Hansen. They know each other well, and now there is the gap. You can see it. The Excite Energy Racing team will get to that cut in, and to the narrow section
23.
first for sure. 23.
It's only 23, so they were about 4 or 5 seconds up then. I thought it'd be more like 27, 28, 30-second penalty. It's already 23. Kevin Hansen, oh wow, this hunt is on big time. Ollie Bennett's going to know he's going to have to pull it right out the bag here. Kevin's going to go for it. Kevin's on form this year. He's had a couple of podiums in the World Rallycross Championship. He's ready to win.
Yeah, it's the case of, do you want to be the hunter or the hunted? Because at the moment, that is exactly what Bennett is. He is the hunted. Does he like to be out front? Does he like to lead from that place? Because being the hunter can sometimes be fun, and you put as much pressure as you can on the driver in front of you. You try and do everything you can to force them into a mistake or overtake as quickly as
Chasing
possible.
is way easier, Jenny. You can see the target. Not right now, but he will be able to see the target. The team will be on giving him the splits. Ollie will be out front. There's nothing worse than receiving the splits out front. 23. Oh, sorry, mate. Now it's 19. You're just thinking, no, 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 I've got to push. Then you start thinking you don't want to drive on your mirrors. Once Kevin gets to him, he starts looking in the mirrors, looking at the cameras, trying to figure out. Look at Kevin. Big steering inputs, maximum attack as he comes up the hill. JBXE chasing down Excite Energy Racing.
They are really enjoying this. You can just tell from Hansen's face. He is loving the pressure. He's loving pulling back this lead. 16 seconds is the difference. Each time they go through the waypoint, we'll be able to tell it comes down to 15 seconds now. JBXE, Jensen Buster must be having kittens. We go on board in the bottom right of your corner. That is the JBXE team. They are trying to close them down.
Kevin's going to close this gap again here. Ollie was pretty cautious round by the side of the lake, and as he comes up through this section, I'm pretty confident he's down by another 2 seconds. You could just see the attitude of the car. Ollie was waiting for the grip. Kevin was getting the car by the scruff of the neck and chucking it in. He came sideways out the corner. He was earlier on the gas. 13 seconds of gap. Bennett's got to hold on for this half lap.
Yep, he really has, and he's got that team just bearing down on him. A little clip of the flag there. I wonder if they'll get away with that, or if that could be a penalty.
Sure. It should be. It will be investigated by the stewards. If you touch a flag, it's investigated. So as Kevin just made a mistake that's going to cost them the place.
Wowzers, he must. I don't even know if he'll be aware of the fact that he touched that, but he's got to go full maximum attack now. There is no reserve. There's no holding back. There is only one place in the final. At the moment, it'll be Ollie Bennett who could maybe secure there. And I'm pretty sure that JBXE are closing that gap. 10 seconds now is the gap.
You're on board now with Bennett, but when we're on board with Hansen, there you can see Hansen's fully got him in his sights now. Watch him back into the hairpin in the classic button-coloured machine on the throttle now on the exit. Kicks up the gravel and the dirt. The gap's down to 8.92 seconds. Kevin's surely going to take some risks here on the river crossings. The team might have told him as well, you've tapped a flag, we need a big margin. He's got to go for it.
Now remember, they have hyperdrive available to use. That means they can push a button, they'll get an extra burst of energy. Each of these drivers have to deploy that at some point.
Bennett on the nose! Bennett on the nose, big time. Came off far too hard on that. Lights have gone out on the front of the car. It's still running, but he dropped that down way too hard on the nose.
Oh, he's doing a big hit there. That is not great for Bennett. Under pressure, a little mistake there. The gap comes down to 6 seconds. They feel it. They know it's there for them. We're waiting to hear from race control if there's any penalty, but at the moment, Hansen's just got to race his socks off.
Hansen closing the gap down now. Watch for this jump. How hard's he going to try up here and launch it a bit? It's a fair old leap, maybe not quite Sarrazan's 30,000 feet, but it's a good effort, and the gap now is 4.94, so Bennett will be seeing him. There are the lights. So we're hearing that probably the flag tap he's going to get away with. It does get reported, but we think he's going to get away with the flag tap.
Need to knock it down to get the penalty. There's the Ledoux car. Price stranded in it, just watching at the side. She can't do anything more, but she can certainly enjoy the show that's being put on by the Excite Energy Racing team, by JBXC as well.
It's hard now for Kevin to close the gap down because there aren't any turns here. This is all just flat chat on the backside of the circuit. So Kevin on his hyperdrive. Ollie, though, the gap's come down very quickly to 5 seconds. Now Ollie's able to maintain it at that. Not long now. There's the hyperdrive. 4 seconds plays out for Kevin Hansen. The gap is still 4.24. Michaela, Arlen, Kotlinski, Jensen biting. Oh, they're on tenterhooks in the command centre now, waiting. Can Bennett hold on? Will Hansen take a risk at the end of the lap? He's launching in the background.
Yeah, closing all the time. You can see the windscreen wipers are on. He's trying to find a way through. He's trying to make this track as short as he possibly can as he tries to hunt down Ollie Bennett. The pressure is on, and he goes, though. He goes wide and manages to do it. Bennett looks like he's slowed down, and it looks like Hansen's managed to make the pass through. Oh, there's a car problem. This is not what they needed. It's exactly what JBXC needed, but disaster for Excite.
Someone radio Kevin and tell him to lift. You can come in slowly now. It came. I thought that was an incredible pass on the brakes, but Bennett had slowed down. Wow, oh no, heartbreak for Bennett.
Oh, he was out there in the lead, and it just wasn't to be. What a shame for the man. Oh, it's just such a shame. But look, this is the moment. This is the final. This is the crazy race. It has been crazy because Price hasn't managed to get through. That car ground to a halt, and it wasn't going to be for Excite Energy either. This is the team, JBXC, despite a 30-second penalty. Gets through. Hansen delighted. Kotlinski delighted. Jensen Button is overjoyed. The 2009 world champion has a team. He selected Hansen and Arlen Kotlinski, and they are through into the final, claiming the very last place. A 5-car final. Joy for some, disaster for others, and heartbreak.
Oh, Bennett gets the car going again. So Ollie Bennett gets the car going, but you could see the joy on Kevin Hansen's face. You look at the Hulk in the car there, screaming and flexing. He was absolutely delighted. You can't help but feel sorry for the others, but just so good to have a route through to the final from the crazy race. They're racing for something. You could see that the passion and the emotion, what it meant. Absolutely brilliant. JBXC go through to the final.
So these are the people who have progressed through to the final. You can see the way they've done it. And we have a 5-car final for the first time. It's going to be X44, Acciona Science, United Andretti, RXR, JBXC. And JBXC delighted after that. Let's catch up with them down in the paddock.
I'm with JBXC, well, their team and their team principal and owner. Jensen, I'm going to come to you first. How proud are you to be in the final?
So proud of these guys and the whole team, because Friday was amazing. They were so fast. And yesterday it was just problem after problem with the car switching off and the punches. And we had a 30-second penalty in the crazy race. And these guys still won. So, no, amazing job. And, you know, I think that gives everyone in the team, especially these two, so much confidence going into the final. And I really cannot wait. This day has been so exciting, I think, for everyone. Adrenaline's pumping. And when you've got drivers like these two that work so hard and obviously have the speed, yeah, we're in a great place for the final.
Kevin, I've got to come to you next. That was epic. What was it like for you?
Well, I saw we exited like 22 seconds behind, and I heard calls on the radio all the time, and I heard we were chasing all the time. And you know, the adrenaline in the body, I mean, it was amazing. And I tried to push everything I had, took all the risks, and you know, it paid off. I mean, we're in the final. Even though we had a 30-second penalty, you know, we come back and we never give up in this team.
Michaela, I will have to finish with you. I mean, you were up and down in the command centre, roller coaster of emotions on your face. Yeah. But you had an incredible run, and then watching Kevin, what was the experience like for you?
It was just, like you say, pure adrenaline. It was so exciting, and I got to start, and then I thought, okay, maybe if Kevin pushes, we can do this. And just like in the second last corner, I mean, his drive, amazing. I'm so excited for the final to see what we can do.
I can't wait to watch it. Thank all of you, and good luck.
Well, each team has won votes from the public in grid play, and you can see here it was time to see who got the advantage to start the final in their chosen grid slots.
Yeah, always interesting to see, isn't it? Also, the teams which don't make it through to the final can donate their votes, can't they, to the others? So we see some tactical voting where they don't want some of the teams who are further ahead to get too far ahead, but that's the order in which they finished, and this was where they chose their grid slot. So I think it's pretty obvious as well. We were saying earlier, Jenny, about which side of the grid is a bit tougher, and that's where JBXE have ended up in slot number 4 there. And then right out on the right-hand side, Andretti United. It's pretty bumpy in front there.
Yeah, not ideal for them, although they did start far out that side for their semi, so maybe it'll be okay, but there's a lot at stake, and that's how it stacks up for the grid as we go head right into the final. So let's take you for semi-final 1 and a recap of all the action that happened. It was, of course, X44, Veloce and the Acciona Science teams all going for it. The first time 3 cars have been on track, and a revised track as well that they had to tackle. Overnight changes to make their racing better.
Yeah, we weren't sure where they'd use their hyperdrive. They ended up using it off the start. We didn't think there'd be any passing up by the lake until Sebastian Loeb said, yes, there will. I'm going to put a wheel in the lake as well. That's what he did. Well within track limits. They only have to pass between the waypoint markers. But this was the moment which everybody was blown away by. Stefan Sarazan launched it up the inside from P3 to P1. 200 metres from the finish line. Yes, he broke the car, but it was a heroic attempt to take the win. But it was X44 and Acciona Science who went through from semi-final 1.
Yeah, did all he could, but wasn't good enough. Into the second semi, and it was at Cupra, RXR and Andretti United going for it. And my word, we had some really close battles in the fight to try and win this.
Yeah, it was Timmy Hansen passing Johan Kristoffersen. That was on the first lap. And risks taken on the brakes here for Kristoffersen, coming back past him on the braking zone to the switch zone.
Yeah, it was unfortunate as well for the Rosberg team because they took down a flag, so they had a 10-second penalty. But look at this move from Munnings. Absolutely crazy great, really impressive. Congratulations to her and the Andretti United team winning their semi-final too.
Here is a look then at who is in the final for round 3, the Arctic X Prix from Greenland. 5 cars for the first time. Cannot wait for this. Stay with us.
I'm with X44's Christina Gutierrez. Christina, you're in the final. You've done so well in Senegal and Saudi Arabia, but can we see you on the podium this time? Top spot, maybe?
I hope, but this is a crazy race. There are 5 cars in the final, so it will be very difficult for everybody. So we'll see what happened in the race. We need to see what happened at the beginning and then try to push a lot, and we'll see on the rocks because something can happen.
Johan, you're into the final despite all the challenges. Can you make it 3 wins out of 3 races?
Well, we definitely have the chance, but the competition is really high, and there is a high-risk track as well, especially with the rock garden at the end. But I mean, let's see. I think Molly has good pace on the track, so if she have a good start, I think she can put me in a good position for the last run, and from there on, I will just give it all.
Well, good luck. Carlos, you've made it to the first final. You did it in style, but it's a 5-car final. What are you expecting?
Well, first of all, we are very happy to reach our first final. I think it's new to be 5 cars in the final, so we need to see how it looks. Luckily, there is no dust, so it should be good, good action out there. And of course, Laia and myself, we will try to do our best.
Best of luck. Thanks for speaking to me.
Tension building.
So ready for this, and you can see that's how they're lining up. A bird's eye view in the cars with our 5 drivers. Those are the guys who are going to be taking the start line. And the other drivers, a very awkward and uncomfortable watch from the command centre where all the action is relayed to them. And they won't miss a moment of the racing until it's time for them to jump in the car.
Attention all teams, attention all Extreme E teams. Stand by to start racing at the Arctic X Prix. The final is about to commence. Initialize your systems and prepare to race.
Scott Elkins, race director, giving
1
us
minute.
all the feels
1
here
minute.
as we get into this. We know a lot's on the line. We've seen 3-car finals, we've seen a 4-car final. 5 now. There's more than half the field in this race looking for a win. So far, nobody's had a win except for Molly Taylor and Johan Kristoffersen. Rosberg Extreme Racing, they're on the far side of the grid, the far left, far right as you look at it. Some drivers here as well. Laia Sanz, of course, in her first final. All to play for.
Really is. This is a nervous time for these drivers. You can hear 30 seconds is the count on the clock. Look how far and wide that start line is. My word, this is building beautifully.
So, 2 laps.
15 seconds.
1 lap for the male driver, 1 lap for the female driver. For Rosberg X Racing, it's Molly Taylor. X44, Sebastian Loeb. Acciona Sainz, it's Laia Sanz. JBXE, Kevin Hansen. Andretti United, Katie Munnings at the wheel for the first stint. There she is. They're all looking for the green light. 5 cars then on the run down to the first corner. What's going to happen here? Far left-hand side of the grid, Andretti United. It's very bumpy there. Contact already between JBXE just getting into the rear corner. It looked like Acciona Sainz. Acciona Sainz dropping back. X44 and RXR side by side. The car's bucking up and down. It's so bumpy on the run down here. Sainz is at the absolute back of the squad. The Acciona Sainz car into turn 1 up the inside line. It's Katie Munnings on the far right-hand side. Munnings uses her hyperdrive now. Takes the lead. Katie Munnings has taken the lead here. Molly Taylor for RXR coming in, trying to make a pass on the run down towards the first corner. Big braking zone down here now. Up through the middle, Sebastian Loeb for X44. 3 cars wide on the braking zone. Loeb's going to leave it as late as he can, so will Munnings, but it's inside line for Molly Taylor. Surely Taylor can get this from here. JBXE are right there. Acciona Sainz a long way off the back. Now on the brakes. Watch for the wide line and the cutback. Coming around the flag, Loeb runs a little bit deep. Molly Taylor looking 4 cars now into the narrow section. It's going to be Sebastian Loeb who finally gets the whole shot. The exit waypoint 6, contact between JBXE there. Can't quite make the pass, and it's Andretti United who hold on to 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely muscled out, but just look at that. The Sainz team haven't used their hyperdrive. That's the special boost of power. They get an extra 4 seconds of power, so they've still got that to come. But, right, at the moment, it is the X44 team out in front. Then it's the RXR team leading the standings. United Andretti are next. Then it's JBXE and the Acciona Sainz team bringing up the rear, but they are so close together. This is a really important section. We've seen passing at the lake before. Can anyone make it stick? Look at JBXE. They're bouncing all over the back of Andretti United.
So JBXE may look for a look up the inside here. It's Kevin Hansen will try and pass Katie Munnings where Sebastian Loeb did earlier on today. Not close enough, though, to make that work. He tried, didn't he, up the hill, but he got squeezed out. Now he's stuck in behind. Really, these cars need to do the best they can to catch up with Sebastian Loeb. Make sure they're in a train there behind. Laia Sanz only 4.7 back, and as you said, Jenny, can she make up some of that time using hyperdrive?
Yeah, we've had so much bad luck. I think it's worth pointing out for the X44 team. They wanted to come in here great on a Saturday. Sunday, not so good for them. So they're trying to power out in front, really get an advantage. Remember, the first drivers go out, they come in for the switch, and then they'll have to change driver and do another lap of this very challenging, just over 8-kilometre track. And my word, Jenson Button's team are hunting down Andretti United.
Both drivers have got to do an absolutely bang-on job here. Kevin Hansen runs the car up over the bushes on both the right and the left-hand side. Gives Katie Munnings a little bit of breathing space. She'll be pleased about that because this next section, Jenny, is where we saw a pass earlier on today. Christina Giampazonka had a look up the inside and actually managed to make a pass sticking to the hairpin. The first one we've seen on the brakes, but he's too far back, so that's good for Katie.
Yeah, really is. So at the moment, you can see it's the X44 car. They've taken the turn round at number 16, turn 16, right in front of the Russell Glacier. You can see that at the back of your screen. Just swishes to the left of ours. Next up, it's the Rosberg car as they travel. And they've grown a little bit of a gap, as you can see, just over 2 seconds to the Andretti United team. And then it's JBXE and the Acciona Sainz team still have their hyperdrive to use, so all is not lost for sure. There's still a long way to go in this.
Airing it out big time there, Katie Munnings over the crest. The gap out front, look, is 10.8 seconds for Sebastian Loeb. Now it's 12.3. So Loeb is really gapping them. He's going to come in and hand over to Cristina Gutierrez. He wants to give her as much breathing space as possible because she's going to be chased by Johan Kristoffersen and Timmy Hansen for RXR and Andretti United. They're going to chase her really hard. We've seen people hold on, Jenny, for the whole lap. but you've got to get that gap as big as you can. Loeb trying to check out front. Here he is.
Yep, Loeb absolutely showing the class of a man who has won so many World Rally Championships. 9 championship titles to him, but look at the cars bouncing around.
Munnings with an absolutely huge jump in the background. I almost misjudged it. It was really high, nearly landed on nose. Got away with it this time, but pushing really, really hard to try and get past Taylor. Managed to pass Taylor in the previous run in the semi-final. Munnings trying to get alongside again. Rear of the car kicks up high. You can see her view across the right-hand side. Molly Taylor going to go late on the brakes and try and defend from them. Katie Munnings is on fire today.
She is absolutely pushing this. She knows what she wants. She wants the scalp of Molly Taylor in front of her. Taylor, such a pro when it comes to rally driving, and Munnings really trying to bring it to her. What can she do? She's really trying, but I don't think she's... Look, she's actually closing in on her, isn't she? Amazing.
15 seconds now, the gap between Loeb for X44 and Taylor for RXR. Taylor, of course, is now in that battle with Munnings. That means you're watching your mirrors a little bit. Loeb, look, he's sideways through the left-hander. He's going to come in with a massive gap, as you see. Leia Sands finally uses a hyperdrive out the back, but 11.4 seconds down. That's going to be a big gap for Carlos to try and make up on lap 2.
Yeah, that wide shot really gave you an idea of just how impressive the battle is. Loeb out in front, but look, Taylor, Munnings, they're really battling here. And I tell you what, Munnings is really keeping Taylor honest. This is a really difficult section through the rock garden, challenging boulders that we've seen wrecking some of the cars if you take the wrong line. It's about precision and making it work perfectly.
Yeah, that was bang on, really precise from Loeb, but committed as well. And now Kevin Hansen is back onto the back of Taylor and Munnings. So Kevin has really closed the gap down. Is anyone going to go for an alternate line? I think not on this lap. I think they'll take it steady. Molly Taylor crosses the rock field successfully, followed by Munnings. Kevin Hansen in the background taking more risk. Munnings got slightly sideways, so she dropped back down onto the dirt. They're going to hit to the switch zone now.
Yeah, so the cars will speed up and you can make a lot of time on braking. We've seen it already. Loeb looks like it's checking out so far. The switch needs to go right. I tell you what, Hansen is really trying to claw back time, but they'll come into the switch zone, and at the point where the marker denotes, they have to slow down to 30 kilometers per hour. You can see there, actually Taylor goes early, and then behind them, Munnings, she did a good job.
Munnings was close there. She was really close. I thought she might collect the back of Taylor, but brilliant job. And she, of course, will have been watching because we saw Kristoffersen make a pass on the braking zone into the switch zone. Not somewhere we'd ever thought we'd see a pass before, but we've not seen such close racing as we're seeing here in Greenland for round 3. Halfway point in the season, X44 in the lead with a decent gap over RXR. Can they take some championship points off them, Jenny? The gap's down to 12 points now. Driver change time. Here we go.
Okay, so Sebastian Loeb gets out of the car. He's handing over to Cristina Gutierrez, 30-year-old Spanish driver. Just having a little listen to them.
We heard someone say puncture. We heard someone say puncture in the background. Have they got a problem on the X44 machine? They have the rear rights down. The leader's got a rear right puncture.
So they can fix it. They have a tyre there. You can see at the back, the engineer mechanic just getting the car up on the jacks. They'll have a chance to get back in this, but this is maybe blowing away a lead. They had the lead by such a long place. Rear right puncture. They've got to replace it.
We thought his line was good across the rock garden, but maybe it wasn't, Jenny. Maybe he just had a problem. They got the wheel off already. They're waiting for the 45 seconds. Loeb's got the wheel nuts in his hand, in the car. She'll be belting herself in.
Yeah, 9 times World Rally Champion becomes a mechanic for the moment as he has to help this stricken team to get back up and running. But this leaves it wide open. 45 seconds the drivers are held for. They have to do a mandatory change. If you go over that time, fair enough, but it looks like the first team is away and it's the Rosberg team.
Yeah, RXR out already. Remember that Loeb came in with some 18 seconds up, so this is now lost time, big time for them. He's changed many a wheel in a forest and on a tarmac rally stage under 2 minutes. 3 cars leaving now from the switch zone, super close together. Unbelievable. JBXE hunting down the background. You can see it's going to be Timmy Hansen leading out for Andretti United. Johan Kristoffersen, the last 2 World Rallycross champions, going head-to-head. And behind them, Michaela Arlen-Koplinski going to try and hang on for JBXE.
My word, this is going to be close. It's almost like a full restart, isn't it? They're so level at the moment, and you can see the Andretti United team. They've got away well. These two going side by side. I think there's a little bit of contact between the two of them as well. There's so much to make up for Gutierrez and Sainz at the back end of this. But Arlen-Koplinski chasing down the Rosberg team and Cristina Gutierrez out the front.
They're only 18 seconds back. 18 seconds back with Sebastian Loeb's team having changed the wheel. Absolutely brilliant.
Let's hand over to our commentary box. Lucas de Grassi, Formula E 2017 champion. This is a great battle, isn't it, Lucas?
Yes, unbelievable. It's so good to see so much respect for these guys. I did a lap yesterday on the track, and it's just completely insane what these guys are doing, and the racing is super close. It's fully open until, I would say, the rocks in the end.
Absolutely fantastic, isn't it? You must fancy a go at this yourself, surely. I mean, you know, a man of your caliber with, you know, all that circuit racing expertise, we can get you dirty, can't we? Get you out here?
For sure. Actually, after the lap, I was hooked. I said, even said to Alejandro, I'm gonna get a boogie and start training myself.
Oh, I love it, Lucas. Lovely to speak to you. Really good, of course, Lucas, the Clean Air Ambassador for the UN and a real staunch advocate of all environmental and sustainable affairs.
Okay, absolutely brilliant. Andretti United leading now with Hansen at the wheel. Johan Kristoffersen in right behind, but Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski has gone with them as well. I didn't see if any of them used hyperdrive. I don't think they did. They're going to be saving that, Jenny, for passes down that back section. Really impressed with Arlen-Kotlinski. She's going with two of the best rallycross drivers in the world here. These guys are so good. They've battled so many times. They're battling this year for the World Rallycross Championship as well.
Yeah, and just look at the pressure that's coming now in the form of Johan Kristoffersen all over the back of the Andretti United team of Timmy Hansen. And these are people that know each other so well, the driver dynamics. They've raced together for years, and Johan Kristoffersen, he's trying to find a way through, but down that section, you're crazy, aren't you, if you try?
Yeah, there's no room there. The lake was the only place they could have passed here. Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski is just going to try and hold on to these two, get a podium for JBXC. If she can do anything, don't forget as well, with them trying this hard, there's a chance of contact, there's a chance one of them tries too hard. You've got to be there to pick up the pieces. At Jonas Sainz, Carlos Sainz has closed the gap down by 3 seconds. He's getting away slightly from Cristina Gutierrez. They did that wheel change. Watch now for Kristoffersen. Gonna look for a pass. He's going to go out wide. So Kristoffersen knows Hansen's going to go defensive on the brakes now. Watch for Hansen. He'll brake early and take the inside line. Kristoffersen's going to try and get the car back on the exit. Here we go. Kristoffersen coming in wide and then tight. Hansen might try and stall him up at the apex. Kristoffersen now full throttle on the exit. Can he get past Timmy or not? I think he might have just edged it, going to try and shut the door into the left-hander. Now they're still almost side by side. It's so hard to tell from here. Oh, over the crest, they are still side by side.
So one of them takes the higher line, one of them the lower line, and you can see Timmy Hansen took that lower line, but the air they got there, incredible. This is a real duke-it-out fight, and they are no holds barred. Oh, but damage for the Rosberg car. That impact was just too much, took too much of a risk. And I can tell you what, JBXC see an opportunity here. Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski, could she win this?
She's going to try and hold on, certainly. We've got hyperdrive down the back. There's no reason she couldn't make a pass down there. But Kristoffersen, that's equal to the Saracen jump we saw earlier on. It was absolutely huge, but it was just a little bit too much. Hansen, the rear end kicks up high. He airs it out. Where's Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski behind? JBXC within 3.8. The rear end of that car is up so high they're having to take risks here now, Jenny.
Just
look how cut up the track is.
Just goes to show how much they all want this. Winning the Arctic X Prix means so much to them. The environmental cause means so much to them. This is a race with a passion.
Brilliant, brilliant performance from Andretti United. RXR are not going to win for the first time. X44 have had 3 TQs, and again, they haven't been able to convert it. RXR have had 2 wins. Not this time. They've dropped to the back of the pack. Look, Kristoffersen maybe hasn't managed to get going. So is this going to be a first win? Now we see Hansen uses his hyperdrive. When is Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski going to respond straight away? Yeah. I think the gap's just about enough, but we've seen so many problems on this circuit. It's such a hard track.
Yeah, it really is. This is a punishing background for any X Prix, and this is the first time we've had any motorsport in Greenland. It's fantastic to see it happening, but I tell you what, Hansen and Munnings, the pair for Andretti United, fancy this. They fancy taking home this title and pushing on in the championship. This will give them a huge amount of points.
I mean, what? You've never had a motorsport event in Greenland, but this is what Extreme E brings you. I don't think it's a bad debut.
Yeah, absolutely. They're having cracking stuff. So you can see Arlen-Kotlinski around 4 seconds behind the lead car at the moment, trying to hunt them down. And then you have got the 2 other cars of Sainz and X44, and at the back is Kristoffersen in the RXR stricken car. But we're coming down around to some of the final moments of this X Prix. And if you look, it is Munnings and Hansen, the pairing. And they are coming towards the rock garden. Over they go, JBXC as well. But this is the moment. This is the battle for the Arctic X Prix. This is a battle and a challenge for the championship. Munnings has done a great job to set up what is a fantastic win for Timmy Hansen. He looks to come across the line. They have smashed it out of the park. Congratulations to them. And Andretti United win. A fist pump for Timmy Hansen. They collect 25 points. They are delighted. Well done.
Absolutely brilliant. Munnings has raised her game this weekend and taken it to the championship leaders. You saw the battle on lap 2. Look at this. Airing it out sideways over the back there. Gutierrez trying to find it. They're still side by side now. This is on for P4 and P3 and P4. Well, who got it? Acciona Sainz got it. Oh, it was 400ths of a second between Acciona Sainz and X44. Gutierrez nearly got it with a jump at the end. Incredible racing.
What a battle, what a battle. X44 coming back from a puncture. Rosberg X Racing having that moment which damaged the car. But my word.
The pass at the hairpin, they were side by side, remember, from the run in, from the exit. Then they knew, I think, right, okay, we're going for it here. Christopherson launched that car, the highest we've seen it go all weekend. Okay, when you do something like that, you're taking a risk on whether or not it'll work out. Unfortunately, this time round it didn't. But an amazing job from Katie on the first lap to bring the car in where she did. Just brilliant. And look at Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski again. So, you know, we've been focusing on Katie and Timmy, but Michaela has done, this is a way faster drive than we've seen from her before. She's got a head around the car now. This championship's really hotting up now. There's so many people on the pace.
Oh, look at Arctic X Prix winners, Munnings and Hansen. The first time anybody other than the Rosberg team have won an X Prix, and my word, what a battle it is. They've had an exemplary week.